Hello, this is your host, Austin Hopkins, and welcome to the Introvert Leader Podcast. Welcome to the podcast. I'm happy to have you guys here today. We're going to jump right into it, but before we do, I'm going to give you a quick update on a few things I've been into recently. So music-wise, guys, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm turning into a 17-year-old girl because I'm obsessed with Sabrina Carpenter. I think she's amazing. I think she's got a great voice. Two songs that I've been vibing with. One is Espresso and the other is Nonsense. I got to give full credit where credit's due to the wifey because she introduced me to both, and big fan so far. So if you haven't checked her out, gotta check her out. She's a vibe. She's got a pretty voice, and I think she puts out catchy music. All right, TV and movies. I've been watching that Amazon show, Rings of Power. So ever since I watched the first Lord of the Rings all those years ago, I got hooked into this whole world. I read The Hobbit, loved it, and Rings of Power kind of takes place before Lord of the Rings movies, which is cool. So you kind of get to see what happened beforehand. I really like it. I think it's got really good set pieces. I think it's got an interesting story. And I like just kind of immersing myself in that whole world of Lord of the Rings. So highly recommend Sabrina Carpenter and also checking out Rings of Power. Okay, moving on. Today, we're talking about job hopping. That's what you're going to hear about today. We're going to be talking about what job hopping is, what my experience with it is. I want to break down as much as I can about what this whole phenomenon is, how to do it the right way, risks to avoid, the benefits, stuff to look out for, you name it. That's what we're going to talk about today. So, I got to tell you, my career has been comprised of both job hopping and also staying put. So I've kind of done both, which I think gives me a unique lens in which to share kind of my expertise. And what I wanted to do is kind of kick things off with a couple interesting stats. I was doing some research, just trying to make sure I really understood what the current kind of market is when it comes to job hopping. And, two stats that I think are really interesting. One is over 22% of workers aged 20 or older spent a year or less in their job in 2022 and 2023, according to Forbes. So kind of interesting to see our younger generation spending less time in their jobs. And another interesting statistic, which was job-to-job moves are still above the 2019 levels. However, the most recent change rate is estimated to be around 3% on average. Moves are starting to moderate from the unprecedented highs of the Great Resignation when the change reached almost 4%. So it is actually going down a little bit, those job hopping. But it's still much higher than it was in 2019, which I think is a positive. So that was according to Fortune, and I'll include both of the links below so that you guys can kind of look at that and look at those articles for yourself. But maybe you've been at your job for a while. Maybe you have thought about moving onto something new. And if so, this episode is for you. So what is job hopping? And I'll kind of describe it in my terms and what I think it really means. And really, basically what it is moving from company to company during your career. Traditionally this happens every few years, but some are even moving between companies just after a few months, which I actually think can be a negative. So that's really what job hopping is. It's moving from one job to another, moving from one company to another. And a lot of people do it for different reasons, right? Maybe they're leaving something that's really shitty, or maybe they're moving on to something better. Maybe they're making more money. Maybe they are moving somewhere across the country. Who knows? But that's really what job hopping is. So I figured I would kind of kick things off by sharing a little bit of my experience, just so you know kind of how I've been involved with job hopping and whether or not you can kind of resonate with my experience. So I never wanted to stay at the same company for my whole career. But for whatever reason, for the first decade of my life, the first decade of my professional life, I should say, I was at the same company. So, sometimes you just get stuck somewhere and it starts to feel really comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that feeling. But for me, I had kind of enough of playing it safe. So began my journey of moving to multiple companies on different coasts of the United States. And while I'm a huge fan of job hopping, it's not the end all be all. For example, my lovely wife has actually been at her company for almost 15 years. And I actually think it's been incredible for her career to stay at one place. So my goal isn't necessarily to convince you to hop between jobs, but to show you what it could look and what it could feel like. And then at the end of the day, it's up to you. You're going to listen to your gut. You're going to feel it out and say, hey, does this make sense for me to move to a new job? Or does it make sense for me to just stay where I'm at? So we're going to kick things off and share some misconceptions. And there are some common ones that I hear all the time. So number one is job hopping is only for the young kids. I'm too old. I've been in my career. I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60. I shouldn't hop ship and go to somewhere else. And I think that's BS. I don't think job hopping is only for young people. I don't think it's exclusive to millennials or Gen Z. I think it's for anyone who wants to experience something new. Simply put, right? So it's not just for young people, it's for anyone. Doesn't matter how old you are. Will it take more courage? Will it take more intention, more strategy the older you get or the further along you get in your career? Well, of course, right? There's more at stake and you have more responsibilities and expertise and things like that. But no, it's not just for young kids. Another one that I hear quite a bit is job hopping is going to hurt your career. BS. No, not true at all. It won't hurt your career unless you are only staying at a job for a few months. If you're staying at a job for less than a year, it could hurt your career. But if you're jumping to a new company, a new job every 2 to 5 years, I don't see anything wrong with that at all. In fact, I would argue that could actually help your career. So that's just my thoughts. That's my opinion. Of course, I'll give you some examples later, but no, I think that's a big misconception. It's not going to hurt your career as long as you do it smart, right? Another one that I've heard quite a bit is job hopping shows that you aren't loyal. It shows that you don't have any loyalty to a company. I can see that perspective and I understand how some people might believe that. And again, I think it shows if you're just jumping every couple of months, yeah, you're right, you don't have loyalty. But if you spend a few years at a place, I believe that's enough loyalty. At the end of the day, are they being loyal to you? Is every company showing you the same amount of loyalty, right? It's a two-way street. And you don't owe your company an unbalanced sense of loyalty, right? You owe them as much loyalty as they're showing you. So at any point, you can be fired from a job. So for me, that doesn't show a lot of loyalty. So for me, I don't know if that's a big concern for me. Now, some people, that might be a concern for them, and they may see that as a negative, that you're not being loyal to the company. But again, unless the company has showed me a ton of loyalty, I don't know that I necessarily owe that company a lot of loyalty. So that's just my thought. Another misconception is only unhappy people job hop. And that ain't the truth at all. In fact, I have moved from different companies, not because I was unhappy, but because I knew I could be happier somewhere else where there was a greater opportunity. And so, no, I don't think only unhappy people job hop. I don't think it shows you're not loyal. I don't think it will hurt your career. And I don't think it's just for young people. Those are some of the big misconceptions that I've heard, and I wanted to just squash them early on, just squash them like a bug. Okay, moving on. I want to talk about some of the risks. So I do think there are some risks that are associated with job hopping. So what I'll do is kind of break down what I think are the top 3 risks that I've seen so far. So one is you can become a master of none and a jack of all trades. So you're moving around to different companies, right? You're learning a little bit, but you're not going deep. You're not becoming an SME, a subject matter expert. So you're not really learning the full amount that you could about one specific topic or industry or process. And the reason why is because you're not spending enough time doing it. So that is a risk. If you're jumping around and you're moving to different things and they don't connect, I think it could be a negative. I've also found, not for myself personally, but I've also found that the grass isn't always greener when you move to a new company. And I know that's sad, right? You think, if things aren't good here, I'm going to move somewhere else and it'll be better. Well, that's not always the case, right? And sometimes the evil is worse than the unknown, right? So I think things you can do to make sure that that isn't an issue is, one, you can talk to people that work at the company you're looking at. You can look at Glassdoor. You can look at reviews. You can look at their social media. You can get a sense of what people think of that company before you go there. But I just want you to realize the grass isn't always greener. So just keep that in mind as you're deciding whether or not, hey, should I move or should I not? And then the last big risk I see is that you can job hop too much. I've said it already twice because I think it's important. If you're spending less than a year at a company, unless something went wildly wrong, I think you're moving too quickly. I think you really need to spend 2 to 3 years at a company and a job before you can really master it, before you can really understand what everything's about. If you're only spending 6 months somewhere, gosh, you don't even know what you don't know. You haven't spent enough time. You don't even know what's going on. You need to spend more time there to make sure that you really understand the role, the impact, all of the different value that you can bring to the role. You're going to learn that over time, right? So I think that's important. Now, again, there's caveats. It's not black and white. And, I want you to realize you got to listen to your gut. So again, If you moved into a company and it is horrible and you learn that after 6 months, well, by golly, you don't need to stay another year and a half. Go ahead and leave. Go find something else better, but don't make that mistake again, right? So those are, I think, some of the big risks I've seen. So with anything good or bad in life, there always comes risk. So I think it's good for you to know that. Now, what are some of the benefits, right? Why would I want to job hop? What would be the advantages of doing that? I think there's 5 that come to mind, but I want to tell you my top 3. So my top 1 is career advancement. When you move to a new company, you are advancing your career. You're meeting new people. You're getting new opportunities. You're hopefully making more money. So that's another one. You're getting paid more. That's number 2. You're getting paid more. Number 3 is you're learning new stuff. For me, I wanted to constantly be learning. I wanted to be exposed to stuff I didn't understand because, I don't know, I get bored, and I felt like for me, I'd rather be more challenged and stressed at work than bored. That's just me personally. But, career advancement, getting paid more, learning new stuff, you're also going to become a more well-rounded professional career person, right? The more you learn, the more you're exposed to, you become more well-rounded. So, if I've only worked at one company and only seen their one set of problems and only been a part of that one industry, well, I might know a lot about that one company, that one industry, and their one set of problems, but there's lots of other stuff out there. And if I go and work at other companies and I have different type of bosses and different kind of responsibilities and pressures and goals and obstacles, all that kind of stuff, it only makes you better. So I really think that's a huge benefit for myself, is becoming more well-rounded. And it's just simply because you're exposed to different things. So, and then the last one, I think I mentioned it, which is meeting new people. I'm an introvert, so I can't say I'm like a social butterfly and love to meet new people and have a ton of friends. But I will tell you this, having moved to multiple companies, I had the opportunity to meet people I would have never met in different parts of the country. And, they've become some friends, some people that I would never want to not have in my life or not talk to, people that I respect, people that I still learn from, people that I want to help. And it's all because I moved to different companies and met new people. So for that reason, I think just on a human level, it's pretty cool when you get to meet new people and build relationships with folks that you would have never met, right? Because if you're staying at one company, you kind of just know the same people, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. You might have awesome people you're working with, but you also might want to meet new people, people that are going to teach you stuff that you're going to learn from, that you can help. So I think those are some of the benefits, right? The career advancement, getting paid more, learning new stuff, becoming more well-rounded, meeting new people, all huge benefits. I mean, you could probably come up with a whole list of benefits. Those are just the big ones that stand out to me, the ones that I think really move the dial when it comes to making this decision. Okay. I want to tell you if job hopping might be right for you. So if you fit into one of these 4 buckets, then it might be right for you. But again, and you hear me say this a lot, listen to your gut. I don't want you to just do it. I want you to listen to your gut. So job hopping might be right for you if you're okay with the unknown. Maybe you're the type of person that you're like, you know what? I like the known. I like everything comfortable, but I'm also okay kind of navigating in the gray. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm confident I can figure it out. And if that's you, job hopping might be just right up your alley. Another reason or way to know if it might be right for you is maybe you've outgrown your company or role and you want to see what else is out there. So maybe you've been at the same company now, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. You feel like you understand it. You feel like you're kind of past it. You're not really challenged every day. You're doing the same thing. You're coming in, you talk with the same people, you have the same conversations, you have the same kind of work day in and day out. If that feels good to you, my golly, stick with it. But if it doesn't and you feel like you've kind of outgrown it or you want to be challenged or grow or do something different, might be right for you. Another bucket you might fall into is you've exhausted all the options at your current company. So let's say you've worked at the same company for a while and things are pretty good. You don't hate the company. In fact, maybe you like it. You like the culture. You like everything about it, but you can't move up. You're stuck in the same position year after year. Now, could it be that maybe you're not doing the right things? Sure. But it could also be things outside of your control. So you could stay there longer and hope something changes, or you could say, screw it. I'm going to, take destiny into my own hands. I'm going to take an action and see what I can do. And, maybe you've exhausted all the options and it's time to look outside. That's okay too. And then I think another one that people might fall into is maybe you want to leave a bad or toxic culture. I have been there. I know what it's like. And when you're in a bad or toxic culture, best thing you can do is get out of it. You're not going to be able to fix it. Unless you're in the very high, parts of the company, your ability to change the entire company's culture is going to be very, very, very slim and very challenging. What I'm not saying is to not try and to give feedback and try to make it better. But what I am saying is at some point you may need to decide, hey, screw it, I need to leave. This ain't it for me. This is bad. It's making me a worse person. It's making me feel depressed, whatever it is. So, job hopping may be right for you if you fit in one of those 4 buckets. And maybe you fit in a totally different bucket. Maybe, you're leaving for a whole other reason. Those are just the big ones for me that I've seen most often in my career. Okay, so we talked about the benefits, the risk. We talked about if it might be right for you to hop to a new job. What I want to do now is transition and talk a little bit about some of the pitfalls. So here are some of the things that you can run into if you are job hopping. And I have experienced almost all of these, and they're real. I think it's really important that you hear these, pitfalls and these potential obstacles that you're going to face, because it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. Even good things can go bad. Even moving to a new company, when you think is going to be amazing, can come with some problems. So here's the first one. Getting up to speed can take a while. I got to tell you, this one kind of threw me for a loop in the beginning. I didn't realize how long it would take to get up to speed. So imagine moving into a new company. You know nothing about that company. Yeah, you've done your research beforehand, but you don't know what the culture's like. You don't know how they communicate. You don't know what things are going to get you shot versus killed. You don't know who the people to stay away from are. You don't know who the people to learn from are. You don't know anything. So it's going to take some time to get up to speed. Now, I will say I've released an episode previously that talks about your first 90 days. That will help you a lot if you listen to that episode or read the book, The First 90 Days. But I just want you to realize it's going to take some time to get up to speed, and you're going to feel uncomfortable during that time. So for me, I felt uncomfortable because I used to be the guy that knew everything. I worked at one company for 10 years, so I was the guy. Like, if you had a question, I knew the answer. If you needed to find something, I could get it for you. I was the guy. And so it was weird to kind of move into a situation where I wasn't the guy. I was the newbie. I was the person that was drinking from a fire hose and trying to learn everything. So keep that in mind. This one may be a little controversial, but I think a potential pitfall is people that are moving into lateral or lower jobs. And so moving companies to something lateral or lower job, making less money. Now, what I'm not saying is that this is a bad thing. I'm just saying I want you to keep that in mind. In fact, I know some people that have moved into lateral positions, lower jobs, and made less money, and they are incredibly happy because it aligns with who they are overall. It aligns with what their goals are, what their vision is for their life. So listen to your gut. But I just want you to realize moving companies just to get a change of pace to a lateral job or a lower experienced job and making less money, probably not a good thing if your overall career goal is to make more money, to get a higher position, to get a better title. So again, maybe controversial. I'm not judging anyone who's done that, just throwing that out there. Another potential pitfall is, your impressions, your first impressions are going to really matter, right? You're not going to have that, existing reputation to fall on to, right? So all of your work, everything you've done in the past doesn't really matter. So you're starting from scratch. So that's kind of a little bit challenging, right? So people are trying to judge you on your work and who you are. So you're going to be under a kind of a fine-tooth comb. People are going to be watching you, and it's going to be a little unsettling knowing that you don't have a reputation to fall onto. You're going to have to build that from scratch. So some people, that's no big deal, right? They're ready for that. They want to come in there and actually even have a chance to create a new version of themselves, if you will, in their career, and maybe get rid of some of those old bad habits and reinvent themselves. I think that's awesome. But some people, it's a little uncomfortable because, right, they did some cool stuff in the past and they want people to realize that and keep that in the top of our mind. But this new company, no one knows you. So keep that in mind. Those are some of the, potential pitfalls. All of them you can work through. So don't hear me wrong and think, oh my gosh, these are the end all be all. This is going to just be so hard. It's not going to be the hardest thing in the world unless you make it that way. If you have the right mindset, if you understand that it's going to be challenging and you just are patient, you're going to be just fine. I ain't worried about it. Okay. I want to move on a little bit and wrap up by talking about two things: reasons to job hop, and then kind of what you can expect just from a personal level. So some reasons to job hop, if I haven't already made that abundantly clear. One is to make more money. You're going to be leaving some money on the table if you're staying at the same company for a long time. I know you probably don't want to hear that, but if you are an existing internal employee, they are going to pay you less money than they are going to pay somebody that comes from the outside and gets, a negotiation for a position. You're going to be making less money. It doesn't matter if you're the best negotiator, doesn't matter if you are the most valuable person in the company, you will be leaving some money on the table by staying with the same company. And the reason why is the company doesn't need to entice you with more money. You're already there. So they're going to give you smaller raises. They're not going to give you giant raises and giant leaps in your pay to move to between positions. And I just think that's important for you to know. Now, is money the end all be all? Is that the most important thing in the world? Hell no. Money is not the most important thing in the world. Now, that's easy to say if you have some money, and that's easy to say if you are capable of making money. But for folks that are really struggling, I get it. You don't want to leave money on the table. So if that's the case, you may want to move to a new job because you're going to make more money. They used to say the average is like a 20% increase from people that move from company to company. I just read a report recently that's saying that's lowered a little bit, maybe to 15 to 10%, but still imagine a 10 or 15% increase is pretty substantial. I remember when I'd get my yearly increases, a lot of times they would be 2 or 3%. So, 3% versus 10%, I think we can see the difference there. Another big reason to job hop is you want to advance your skill set. You want to be tested. You want to learn more. You want to grow. You want to grow your expertise. You want to get better at something else that you don't know. Job hopping can really help you with that. You're going to be exposed to things you don't know. It's all new. And that's the fun in it, is that you're getting new skills. You are being put into new situations and having to come out with solutions that you never had to before. So advancing your skill set, I think, is another big reason too. Another one is opening up more opportunities. It's funny. When you move to a new job, you meet new people, then those people now are in your network, right? And so when a new job opens up or an opportunity, you're going to be the first person they think of. So you're opening up more opportunities simply by meeting new people and getting in new situations. And I think the last reason to, maybe move to a new company or job hop is you want to have an adventure. Gosh, man, having an adventure in life is something that I want more of. I want to be on an adventure. I want it to have ups and downs, twists and turns. I want it to be hard as shit. I want it to be fun, fulfilling, thrilling, you name it. I want an adventure. And for me, I didn't think I could have the adventure I wanted to by just staying at one company. I knew that I would get a better adventure. I'd have a better story to tell if I hopped around to different places. So those are some of my reasons to job hop. What I want to do now is transition and talk a little bit about what you could expect if you move to a new job, new company. So 5 things really quick. Number 1, uncomfortability. You're going to be uncomfortable. Everything's new. Everything's different. You don't know anything. You don't know where to go to get answers. You're going to be uncomfortable. You can also expect to have some growth. You are going to grow a ton. I grew more when I moved to a new company than I ever had in my first 10 years of my career. You're going to feel fulfillment, right? Doing something hard, doing something different, getting out of your comfort zone brings fulfillment. You're going to have new relationships, people that you're going to meet that are going to stick with you for the rest of your life. Maybe you're going to meet new people that are going to inspire you, that you're going to learn from, that you're going to be able to help. And all as a result of moving somewhere new. And what you can expect is you might find that the culture wasn't what you thought it was going to be. And that's okay, right? You're going to live and learn. You're going to realize, hey, I thought I knew, I did my research, maybe I didn't, but maybe the culture isn't exactly what you thought it is, and that's okay. You're going to be able to figure it out. You're either going to stay there and make the best of it, find something different, try to improve it, whatever you can. So those are some of the things that I think you can expect if you're job hopping. What I want to do now is actually transition and wrap up with like a little bit of a story or kind of like a test case, if you will, about someone who's job hopped. So my wife and I have a friend, let's call her Martha. She is incredibly talented. She's young and she's one of the hardest workers in the room, right? She's that type of person that like knows her worth, badass, boss bitch, whatever you want to call her. She's amazing, right? And Martha likes to jump to new jobs. I've known Martha for now over a decade and I've watched her move to 5 different companies while making more money and getting more responsibility every single time. So she follows the opportunities, the money, and the experience she wants. And I've observed her grow in her career from like an entry level, mid-level to a very high level senior leadership position. She has picked up knowledge, wisdom, experience at each job, and then she leveraged that to find something bigger and better. And honestly, Martha's doing stuff in her 30s that people wish they could achieve as they reach retirement. So she's doing stuff 20, 30 years before most people would. And when I look at Martha and her career, I'm not only impressed, but I'm really proud of her for carving out that successful career. And honestly, I don't even know if I've told her this, but watching her job hop gave me a lot of confidence to do that as well. This was somebody that I knew and watched them move to different companies and make more money and get better responsibilities and grow in their career and really flourish. And for me, gave me inspiration to try it on my own. So I probably should send her a text and say thanks for the inspiration, but I thought I'd share that because it's definitely doable. It's not just me. I'm not just sharing my experience. I'm giving you another experience of someone that I know personally that has literally jumped to 5 jobs in 10 years and has carved out a highly, highly successful career doing it. So it's possible. It's not only possible, it's doable. And what I want you to do as we wrap up the listener challenge this week is I want you to reflect on your own path. Are you happy with where you're at? Are you wanting to do more? Are you not satisfied? Do you want to get uncomfortable more? If so, I want you to take a hard look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe it's time to job hop. And, P.S., if you want to talk about that, if you want to talk about a potential career move, or maybe you want to get some advice on your specific situation, do me a favor, book a quick career clarity call with me. I literally help clients with this all day long. It's a free call. I'll put the link in the description, but I'd love to see if it may be right for you to move, and we can kind of talk through that and see if it makes sense and really strategize. So I want to say thank you so much for listening. Make it a great day. This has been the Introvert Leader Podcast. Subscribe for new episodes every other Wednesday.